The Pacifica is a rather new addition to the railroad and is a predecessor to one of Amtrak's famous long-distance routes, the Coast Starlight, seemingly passing you in a blink. But this is where the questions come flying in. Where did this come from? We begin in 2021. The Coast Starlight still exists and is hauled by either AOC-42s or P-42DCs. However, the Coast Starlight takes quite a long time to get from the Pacific Northwest to the Pacific Southwest, and that wasn't optimal for people. California in general wants some form of high-speed train, but that was going to take a while. By now, the GR Railroad basically owns Amtrak. It was bought from the federal government in an attempt to make it better. The plan was to fix up services in the west before making its way to the Midwest and East, with it all being finished by 2025. So by that measure, the first plan was to fix Amtrak Surfliner, particularly its route, and give the Surfliner a new look to reflect on its route. This became the Sunset Paint Scheme. Then the plan was to fix Amtrak California, with that plan starting in 2023, with it also getting the Sunset Paint Scheme. If you didn't know, the scheme is based off a sunset depicting California. Anyways, back to the topic. The plan was to fix up all 3 state-supported Amtrak services in the Pacific. The plan called for a new service called the Pacific Corridor. However, something got the railroad's attention, the Coast Starlight. This long-distance service would practically be eliminated after the Pacific Corridor was initiated. And it almost did by the time the Pacific Corridor was in place. But the corridor soon fell into disarray and eventually was dissolved by the end of 2022. So the Coast Starlight survived the purge. The railroad then changed its focus, and instead wanted to keep everything as it was, instead of merging train lines. The railroad would enhance pre-existing lines and use the Coast Starlight to connect them. This is finally where the Pacifica would exist. Well, not in name. It was named the Aliva Express first, as Aliva would be leading this train up and down the service, and they didn't have a name for it yet. At first, testing of this began sometime in mid-2022. Aliva used the standard Superliner coaches for the service. There was even a time Aliva was tested with bi-levels. And there was even a time where Fenton was running a similar type of train, possibly for the same service. But, you know, he's no longer here, and that fell apart. This was until the Siemens Venture cars were to be delivered. Some of the Venture cars were Japanese-themed cars, as Aliva, along with her sister Eloise, were mainly a joint build between Nippon Sharyo and Siemens. The reason Aliva was used simply because how fast she is. As said before, Aliva and her sibling were a joint build between Nippon Sharyo and Siemens. However, Aliva was a tri-joint build between Nippon Sharyo, Siemens, and Lockheed Martin. Her model name in particular was SCJT-10K, which in full was Siemens Charger jet train with 10,000 horsepower. Meaning she could get up to track speed, which on average was 127 miles an hour, in 3 minutes minimum. She could accelerate faster, but she ripped the couplers out. Also because of her speed, the original Coast Starlight route was extended to San Diego. and eventually the Oliva Express began service. Along with this, the name changed to the Pacifica instead. At first, she started with 16 cars, 14 of them not being painted and the other two being the Japanese-themed cars. Due to a conflict at this time, she'd periodically not be leading the train and a prototype version of the same model was made, although this one went slower, but it didn't really change much. Though it caught fire many times, probably because they couldn't replicate Oliva to the fullest, probably because she was sentient and the other was not. She ran her train once to twice a week and sometimes ran twice each day depending on demand. Around June 2023, the consist was fully painted to match Oliva and was shortened to 12 cars due to demand slightly decreasing. Another Japanese-themed car was added. To date, she is extremely reliable. She doesn't have a speed limit outside the big cities or areas not upgraded for that speed. Wow, she really is a jet train on axles. The sections of track speed reaching 150 miles an hour and above are San Diego to San Onofre, which is just south of San Clemente, San Luis Obispo to Salinas, north of Martinez to Sacramento, Sacramento to Eugene, which is the largest section of high-speed track, Portland to south of Tacoma, and Everett to Vancouver, BC. But this did come at a cost of realigning tracks, buying tracks, and laying new tracks. But in the end, it all worked out. This service single-handedly shortened the 35-hour trip to just over 4 hours. Along with low ticket prices, this competes with air travel. Who knows? Her train might just get longer with all those new travelers coming from airplane travel. And one thing she said, "I may be a weird-looking charger, but I am proud of myself and I am proud of what I'm doing."